How are skyrocketing immigration levels contributing to inflation, housing prices, the cost of living, and the ability of your wages to keep up with inflation? Well, I'd love to tell you, but if the immigration ministry has done any of that analysis, they're not going to hand it over to us willingly. Last week, I told you how the immigration ministry was caught lying about and then completely withholding information regarding a deal the immigration ministry struck with George Soros's Open Society Foundation to basically great reset the Canadian immigration system. We filed for access to information in 2018 regarding that 2016 arrangement with the UN High Commission on Refugees and the Open Society Foundation, and it took 3 years, an appeal, and finally a ruling from the Information Commissioner just to tell the government to quit lying about not having any documents, which was the government's unbelievable response to a publicly announced agreement between the feds, the UN, and Soros. They finally had to fork over those documents. I reported on the findings of those documents last week. You can see that full story at rebelnews.com. Now, we do all this work through your crowdfunding donations to rebelinvestigates.com. Now, it looks like the immigration ministry has learned nothing from just getting their hands slapped by the privacy commissioner, and they've learned nothing about our dogged determination to get access to documents we absolutely know exist. Because the immigration ministry, they're back up to their old tricks. Here's the backstory on this one. According to the Liberal government, their immigration plan includes welcoming 341,000 permanent residents in 2020, 351,000 in 2021, and 361,000 this year. All while a medical underclass of Canadian citizens are locked inside their own country, and in some instances, they've been locked inside their own province, unable to travel, and in the case of Quebec, for a time, they were locked in their own homes after dark. To add insult to injury, Canadians are living through near unprecedented inflation at almost 5%, and it's set to get worse. Housing prices are up, wages are not keeping up, and the cost of everything like food and gas are rising, and to top it all off, the Liberals have slapped a carbon tax on everything in the economy. And now there are massive supply chain disruptions being made worse by Justin Trudeau's irrational vaccine mandate on cross-border truckers. How will more people added to our population contribute to those pressures? Canadians all across the political spectrum want lower immigration levels, even before the pandemic and before our outrageous inflation rates. A Leger poll suggested that the majority of Canadians, 63%, favor limiting immigration levels. And let me be clear, these are not people against immigration. These are people who say the targets for immigration are too high to allow for successful integration of immigrants. So we wanted to know if the Liberals had taken any of these factors into consideration when looking at their immigration targets. Did they bother to wonder what increased immigration levels would do to the average Canadian family? And if they did bother to wonder, what analysis did they do? What did they find? And how did they react to those findings? And did they bury them? So we filed an access to information request into the immigration ministry. Take a look at this. Provide copies of any analysis done on the economic and other impacts of increased immigration to Canada on issues such as housing prices, housing availability, wages, etc. since January 1st, 2018. So the Liberals are up to their old immigration ministry tricks because this was their response to me. At the present time, meeting the original time limit of 30 days would unreasonably interfere with operations. Further, we have found it necessary to undertake a consultation process. As a result, an extension of up to 150 days beyond the 30-day statutory deadline is required to complete your request. The new legislative due date for your request is May 14th, 2022. Should the consultations be completed in a shorter time frame than specified, yeah, right, we will endeavor to respond to your request before the due date. Months of delays to find out if the Liberals considered Canadian household impacts before they jacked up immigration levels in an inflationary crisis. And what the Liberals say is a deadly COVID crisis that necessitates banning a medical underclass from traveling within their own country. Oh, friends, though, don't worry. We're going to keep looking into this and other issues too. The Liberals cannot hide this information from us or from you forever. If you'd like to help offset our filing, appeal, and research costs, please donate today at rebelinvestigates.com. You know we don't take a penny from Justin Trudeau, and how could we ever? How could we ever possibly hold him to account if we took money from him? For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Access to information is expensive and oh so time-consuming. Sometimes these stories can take 3 and 4 years to complete by the time we get through all the government paywalls and delays. But we think it's so important to hold the government to account on behalf of the people. If you'd like to contribute to offset our research costs, please visit rebelinvestigates.com. And thank you in advance to everybody who donates to make this important work possible.